Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Friend of the program, we have Donnie Copeland of the CopelandReport.com, as well as a former state representative, which I don't know if that's like a popular thing to say anymore, Donnie, or not, but welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Paul.
Absolutely. I'm really happy to have you on again. So let's just talk a little bit. I want to remind everybody this website, CopelandReport.com. It's a news aggregator. It's really good if you want to catch up on some Arkansas news and just kind of get a feel for the snapshot. You guys are doing a great job of what happens on a daily basis in Arkansas.
Well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed doing it. We tried to do our best to also add in some key national stories, and also, in addition to that, also take advantage of some really good opinion pieces out there. So I really encourage your listeners to go to CopelandReport.com after listening to the Paul Harrell Show.
Of course, yeah, and we got a nice ad of the Paul Harrell program that links to our website down there as well, so that's good. And I want to tell our audio-only audience, it's not spelled like your last name. It's spelled Koplan report.com. There's no D in there. So,
that is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, so we got the website up now. So, Donnie, let's just talk a little bit about what are some of the issues that are on your mind right now that you feel need mentioning or talking about.
Well, I think one is kind of the elephant in the room is the Roy Moore story is really
interesting
devastating. And I'm gonna preface that by saying I'm assuming that it's not true, and the only disturbing part is anytime you have multiple accusations. And here's my reasoning with that, and then I want to get on a local or state level after that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But here's my concern is, and what I think was just deplorable was you had Mitch McConnell and someone else that just escapes me who it was that came out almost immediately and saying if this is true, he needs to step down. He doesn't need to run. And those guys, and we've seen that on a state level, they would literally rather have a Democrat than they would a conservative Republican.
And they jump to the media. I mean, they do that because they believe that they're expected to do it. They believe that if they don't come out and immediately that they're all of a sudden going to be thought that they're condoning it. But that's not at all what happens. I mean, you have to look. It may very well be possible that it's true. Okay, for those of you that don't know, Roy Moore, the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos owns it. They've already endorsed Roy Moore's opposition Democrat. They want the Democrat, but they've run this piece. They say that he sexually had a relationship with a 14-year-old when he was like 32 years old or something. But you've got to look at the context, first of all. First of all, he flatly denies it. He says that it's absolutely untrue, that it's a desperate political attack. And so at this point, it's like, okay, well, what do you do? How are you going to get to any sort of conclusion before the election happens? And I think that's probably a potential goal here is maybe we find out after the election that we have, proof that none of this was true, like actual proof of who's right and who's wrong here.
Hey, and here's something that I think about, and it's kind of in the back of my mind. Thank God for a guy like Steve Bannon, who is the type of person that would put a ton of money into an investigation to find out who's making this up, who's behind this. And I liken that, and I'm not trying to just blow you guys' horn, but I liken that to our state. And we have a very similar situation where we have establishment Republicans that would rather literally, and we've seen this happen in primaries, and we're seeing it happen right now, and in general elections, would rather have a Democrat than a Republican in a lot of cases. And thank goodness for someone like Conduit, someone like your program that will fight, and not only fight, but will put money up and help get candidates, good conservative candidates. And, man, we just, think about if we did not have Steve Bannon on a national level, we didn't have Conduit on a state level, where we would be, there would be no hope virtually.
Yeah, there'd be nobody to fight back, and actually advocate for limited government. And the criticism that Conduit takes, and we saw this at the Benton County Republican Committee with Bart Hester, Jenna De La Rosa. They, you heard it. I mean, if it grows government, Conduit says, how it grows government and who it is making those decisions. And so you're exactly right there, Donnie. But to back way up, back to the Alabama thing real quick. I just think my comment on that is I think you just got to wait and see, because at this point, I know one thing: the left's desperate, but at the same time, he completely denies it. I don't know. I have no idea how that's going to work out, and so we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
And when is that election?
Oh gosh, it's I'm not sure. Joe, find out when the Alabama Roy Moore election is.
And again, the timing is so curious. The man has ran for office. This is probably his 8th or 9th race, maybe 10th race, counting primaries. So wouldn't you find it so intriguing that it's just now? And what I would not be surprised is that just as in the GPS or the GPS Fusion, the dossier that came out that Hillary and so forth tried to hatch up in the DNC on Trump, that there was Republicans. John McCain is alleged to be behind at least the first part of that. And I would not be in the least surprised if this was not a joint effort between the Republicans and the Democrats. That's how bad they hate conservatism. And I think a lot of times our fellow constituents and citizens, rather, don't really fully realize how bad the establishment, the swamp, has been is starting to be known as. How they don't realize how desperate they are to hold on to power, to hold on to position, i.e. to hold on to money.
So the election is December the 12th over there in Alabama.
Okay.
So it's
it's coming up, but 4
weeks.
At least it's not 3 days before.
Yeah. It's just a weird. The whole thing is very strange. But isn't it crazy? Just seriously think about this. Since Donald Trump's elections, for sure. I mean, the media is so. I mean, they've thrown any thread of objectivity that they had left, which wasn't much. It's all gone now. Isn't it crazy? I mean, the times that we live in, the Washington Post comes out with a story like this, and we are, within every reasonable expectation to doubt 100% of the story. That's not crazy. It's not crazy to completely doubt everything the Washington Post is saying because of the times we live in.
And look at their track record. I mean, it got almost laughable during the primary and then during the general election, when they would come out with a story almost daily, and it would be refuted 2 days later, and it would be like these. I don't remember a story this serious. And here, think about it this way, Paul. When you've got $18 billion, whatever the guy has. I mean, the guy has just got more money than most of the world. You can survive a defamation suit. And you better be able to if this is made up.
Yeah, that's true, and that's what they say in their statement, that this is defamatory. So you would expect a lawsuit.
Absolutely. I'd sue him for however much he has. I'd sue him. Hopefully he's on the Bezos is on the corner, collecting change in Little Rock with sometime later. But yeah, it's really bad. But to see the parallel between the desperation of the establishment nationally and then to see that in the state, it is so similar. Look at Dan Sullivan being primaried over there. You see Sturch, a primary, and Linda Collins Smith, and you see, and now he would probably, not agree with me, but Garner down in South Arkansas when he ran against Bobby Pierce, and the governor sided with Bobby Pierce.
Yeah, you know why? Yeah, that's interesting. Senator Trent Gardner, who did win, Republican. Asa wanted the Democrat to win. That was a reality, and it was only because Senator Trent Gardner on his website said that he was opposed to Medicaid expansion. That was it. That was the only. It's crazy the links these people will go to. You have I believe it was former Speaker Davy Carter campaigning for Democrats against Republicans, and yet he was a Republican. I know now he's changed to Democrat and that sort of thing. But
he's an independent now.
I think
he's an independent.
I think he actually officially registered as a Democrat, though. Donnie, I'm serious.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was the news. I think that was back earlier in the year.
Wow.
Davy
last
Carter.
I heard, he and Nate Bell were the two members of the independent coalition in the state.
I'm like, I'm 90% sure that it happened because I thought he was independent as well because I remember those headlines. But then somebody corrected me and they sent me the actual, information on it all. But
that actually makes me feel much better because he's much more Democrat than he is an independent.
Well, yeah, right.
I mean, he's certainly not a Republican. Never was, and he's not. If he's an independent, he's not a very good one. He's a much better, to me, not even moderate.
Well,
he's Chuck Schumer,
regardless of what his registration is, former Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Regardless, he clearly was a fan of Democrat policies. So, Donnie, did you get a look at the poll numbers that came out last week from Governor Asa Hutchinson that showed he'd lost 17 points among Republicans?
Those were in the toilet. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was not good. And I did hear yesterday. I had one of my contacts in the Capitol was telling me that the governor's really started a major outreach program, hired some minority pastors that are now on his payroll, and he's really doing the outreach. And his coalition will be conservative or really any Democrat he can get, and then moderate to liberal Republicans, because that's what's been his coalition when he gets legislation passed, and so it only makes sense that's going to be his coalition for re-election.
Okay, so you're saying he's actually going to minority churches, and that's what you've heard, and he's enlisting them.
He actually hired a very well-known minority pastor, and he's doing quote unquote outreach for the governor's office. So,
Well, what's interesting on that is that used to be. I mean, that's what we used to hear that the Democrats would do all the time. To turn out the vote. So I just was speculating last hour that if Asa Hutchinson does in fact have a primary, we can count on the Hutchinson administration wanting Democrats to vote in the open Republican primary and actively recruiting them to do so. And let me just say this. If that actually happens, I would challenge anybody who works for the governor's reelection campaign, who works on the governor's staff, who considers themselves a conservative. Because there are those who still consider themselves conservatives that are working for the governor. If that is their tactic in a Republican primary, I don't know how you could ever call yourself a conservative ever again, period.
Yeah, isn't that a Trent Lott trick from when he ran against Chris McDaniel in Mississippi? I mean, that's actually how Trent Lott won, wasn't it? Was it Lott? Maybe the old Mossback senator from Mississippi that beat the upstart conservative, but he basically got Democrats to cross over. I mean and we saw that in the last round of House and Senate races here in the state. They got Democrats to cross over. That was the only way they could win because the conservatives are going to vote for conservatives in a primary. I don't know. Has there been an actual candidate I know Jan Morgan's talked about it.
She's got an exploratory committee, is what Jan Morgan has, that she's formed.
And I've not seen any fundraising. Have you seen anything?
I haven't.
What she's raised?
No, I have not. So that would be interesting.
I don't know.
But we know. She's speaking at the Mississippi County Republican Party this Saturday. And we do know that the governor tried to have her disinvited by using one of his employees to do so. Oh, yeah. You didn't hear about this?
So much for First Amendment, huh?
Yeah, he did. We've got the email. We've got the email and everything from Doug Smith. He makes $50,000 a year. works for the governor's office, and he sent an email trying to bully the Mississippi County Republicans and get Jan Morgan uninvited. He even copied, this is what's really nefarious about it, this is how the good old boy system works. He copied the owner of the Holiday Inn, of the venue, which if you know anything about Mississippi County, you know anything about Blytheville. My mom's from there. My grandparents were from there. I used to go there as a child. The Holiday Inn is essentially the only place to have any event at all in Blytheville.
Yeah, I've been to that venue.
Yeah, and so for Doug Smith from the governor's office to copy the owner of that event on the email criticizing Jan Morgan was essentially an invitation to the owner saying, hey, you should cancel the event. You should threaten to cancel the event if they have Jan Morgan to speak. I mean, that's the kind of subtle, passive-aggressive type stuff that, has really been the lifeblood of Arkansas politics for a very long time.
Am I having deja vu, or has this happened before? Hadn't this happened previously where they tried to get someone disinvited?
Yeah, well, she was disinvited from the Craighead County Republican Reagan Day dinner. She has been reinvited to speak at a later date this month, I believe, sometime.
But I was thinking before her even there was someone that was disinvited.
Before her. I don't know.
Man, that just seems so familiar. But that's unfortunately, when I think when you're afraid of a voice that may speak to the right of you want to silence it.
That's exactly right. Donnie Copeland, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Oh, always great to be with you, Paul, and wish you the best.
All righty, you too. Folks, the website is CopelandReport.com. Just go check it out. It's a great news aggregator to keep up on Arkansas politics. That's CopelandReport.com. And it's always great to have Donnie, talk about the issues of the day. We have got to go to break, and we'll be back in just a moment.